my name is Cecily Armstrong and I'm from Charlottesville, Virginia. I was first introduced to energy healing really as a child. I can't really tell you when that happened. It's always just been a part of how life made sense to me. And it wasn't until my end of college, I was pre-med, thought I was going to med school, and I realized that the pieces of medical school were going to break the healer in me. And I stumbled into a yoga class, and it was love at first moment. I loved it, and I became a studio owner right out of college, and I've taught for the last 30 years. But through that unfolding of really becoming more home in my body, the energy pieces that I remembered from my upbringing and how the world seemed to me and appeared to me as a child really began to make more sense. And I started my quest as a functioning adult, really questioning, what is this? What is happening? And what was really amazing to me is I became more aware from that adult perspective that not everybody experiences the world the way that I was experiencing it. And that was what was so confusing as a child, was that I would have these moments and then they would be invalidated by the adults around me who told me that's make-believe. And energy became a thing after I had my 2 children, parenting them and being able to hang out in the world of make-believe with them a little bit more got me curious again. And I went and did a 4-year program at Barbara Brennan's School of Healing, and that was when it became something that I began to offer people. The yoga years were coming to a close, and through the energy work, I began to see that there were other pieces that brought in more aliveness and more wellness for people, and I added in nutrition and really began kind of more of a full scope coaching. And that was when I became aware of NES. When I brought NES into my practice, and I use this metaphor a lot with people when I'm explaining it, energy work and working with your own process has you going in a specific direction, and it's kind of like moving an apartment building or an apartment all by yourself. And when I brought in NES, it felt like I was hiring a team of movers to come help me with that process. It just went faster, it was much more fun, there were people to chat with, it was more efficient. NES has been a wonderful part of my practice. It has been a tool that brings in something that is so oftentimes hard to explain to people with words, and it puts it in a graphic, easy to use way that can help me translate what my experience is, what the client's experience is, and where those two things come together. And that is one of the things that I love, is that I can sit down with a client and we can go through what's being reflected through the portal and the client scan, and I can see those light bulbs going off for them, and it opens doorways to conversations that we pick up in the coaching, or I can work with them with energy. And I know that NES is giving us this foundational framework to really build upon. And the other thing that's really neat is working with clients over the course of a couple years is, the changes are amazing that happen with people. And oftentimes it's not so much what they can say is changing in the moment, but it's looking back. It's the absence of what's not there anymore. And that is a really profound thing when you realize, I haven't done that thing for a little while, or my stomach hasn't done that thing that it used to do all the time, or being able to reflect a year later, I'm sleeping differently than I have slept this time of year, or seasonal changes, just feeling more energized and feeling like things don't bog you down the same way. It's awesome. Of a woman that I've worked with NES, and it's been about 3 years that she and I have been doing around once a month scans. And she's a young woman who, when she first came to me, had quite a few, I'll just call them disordered ideas around eating and how she was using food in her life. And she was at a point where she had finished college and she wasn't really clear what she wanted to do with her life. And she was kind of paralyzed. It was really hard for her to get through her days. There was a little bit of a heaviness about her, and she, in her words, she said, "I just really feel lost." And over the course of using NES with her, what I've really experienced is her coming into her body in a completely different way. She's really home, and she's taken on her own course of study. She's gone through a nutrition program, and she's offering health and wellness coaching to people in her world. She's moved states. She started a new relationship and moved out of her parents' home. And she is really moving herself into her life in a way that she wasn't capable of doing when I had first met her. And I know that there's a lot of things that she's doing, but NES feels like it is, like I said, it's the foundational framework that supports everything and allows other work through other practitioners to really land. One tip I would say for practitioners in using the NES system is it really can help you hone and honor and know what you know. So there's oftentimes a deep knowing, and there's the way that you know that, and then there's a way that sometimes it gets reflected differently from other people. And using the NES system, it gives you a common language between practitioner and client where you can really begin to sit together and unpack some of these pieces. And I see this a lot in the people that I work with. You know, I'm working with a lot of people who are leaders in their own small little bubble. And leadership can be very challenging because oftentimes there are multiple different agendas, and at the end of the day, you have to be really solid and clear in who you are and what you're about and what your mission is about. And when you can hold that, and then you have this technology really helping you hold it and ground it, you can move that forward through the people that you work with in a completely different way. So I've been a life coach and an energy healer for over a decade, and it's been about 5 years since I introduced NES into my practice. And what I've noticed is that when we add NES into the mix, the results come a little bit faster, they go deeper, and they happen with a lot less challenge. People just shift. And it's the difference between wrestling with something and just making the shift. And it feels like that moment where you might have a really strong emotional response, and instead of having that emotional response, you have a minute, you take the breath, and it's a different response than is the one that you're used to having come through. And you know, that's on an emotional level, but on a physical level, on a psychological level, I just see people shifting so quickly, and it oftentimes it just kind of happens. It feels like magic.